My name is Emma. I am 25 years old. Every morning at exactly 7:45, there is a cup of coffee waiting on my desk. It is always the same order. A medium vanilla latte with extra foam. I never asked for it. I never paid for it. It simply appears every day. The person who brings it is a man named Robert. He is 61 years old. He works in the accounting department. He drives nearly 2 hours to get to work every morning. And somehow, he always arrives before me. When I first joined the company, I barely noticed him. He was quiet. He rarely joined conversations. He ate lunch alone. Most people respected him because he had worked at the company for more than 30 years. But nobody knew much about his personal life. He came to work. He did his job. Then he went home. The coffee started during my second week. I arrived at my desk and found a cup sitting beside my computer. There was no note. No explanation. I thought someone had left it there by mistake. Later that day, Robert walked by and smiled. "Did you enjoy the coffee?" he asked. I was surprised. "You bought that for me?" I asked. He nodded. "You looked tired yesterday. I thought it might help." I thanked him and thought that would be the end of it. It was not. The next morning there was another coffee. Then another. Then another. Every single day. After 2 weeks, people started noticing. One afternoon, my coworker Melissa sat beside me in the break room. "Emma," she said, "you know Robert likes you, right?" I nearly laughed. Robert is old enough to be my grandfather. Melissa shrugged. Men are men. Maybe he thinks you're cute. Other coworkers started saying similar things. Every time Robert stopped by my desk, people exchanged looks. Every time he brought coffee, they whispered. The rumors spread through the office. Some people joked about it. Others seemed uncomfortable. One day, I walked into the lunchroom and heard someone say, "Maybe she is his girlfriend." The room became quiet when they saw me. My face turned red. I hated gossip. The strange thing was that Robert never acted inappropriate. He never flirted. He never complimented my appearance. He never asked me out. He never even texted me. Our conversations were always simple. "How is your project going? Did your mother recover from her surgery? How was your weekend?" He remembered little details about my life. That was all. Still, I began wondering if everyone else saw something I did not. Why would a man drive 2 hours every morning and stop for coffee just for me? Why would he spend money every day on someone who was basically a stranger? One rainy morning, I decided to ask him directly. "Robert," I said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," he replied. "Why do you keep buying me coffee?" He looked surprised. Then he smiled. "Because you work hard." That was his entire answer. The answer did not satisfy me. Something felt missing. There was a sadness behind his smile that I could never explain. Sometimes I would catch him staring out the window. Sometimes he looked like a man carrying something heavy that nobody else could see. A few months later, our company organized a volunteer event. Employees spent a Saturday helping renovate a community center. I signed up. So did Robert. Most people left early in the afternoon. Robert stayed until evening. He painted walls, moved furniture, cleaned windows. He worked harder than employees half his age. During a break, I sat beside him outside. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. Then I noticed a photograph sticking out of his wallet. It showed a young woman wearing a hard hat and safety vest. She looked about my age. "Your daughter?" I asked gently. The smile disappeared from his face. "Yes," he said quietly. "Her name was Lily." "Was?" I asked before I could stop myself. The moment the word left my mouth, I regretted it. Robert looked down at the ground. His eyes became wet. "She died 7 years ago," he said. I froze. I did not know what to say. He stared at the photograph for several seconds. Then he continued speaking. Lily was 24. She had just started her career. She was excited about her future. She called me every morning on her drive to work. His voice shook slightly. One day there was an accident at her workplace. It should not have happened. Safety procedures were ignored. By the time I reached the hospital, she was gone. I felt my chest tighten. Robert took a deep breath. "For a long time, I was angry," he said. Angry at the company. Angry at the world. Angry at myself because I could not protect her. He smiled sadly. Then one day I realized something. I could spend the rest of my life being angry. Or I could spend it being the kind of father she would have wanted me to be. I listened quietly. Robert looked at me. "Emma, when you started here, you reminded me of her. Not because you look alike. You do not. But you had the same nervous smile. The same habit of arriving early. The same determination to prove yourself." Suddenly everything made sense. The coffee. The concern. The small conversations. The way he always asked whether I had eaten lunch. The way he reminded me to drive carefully when it snowed. I thought people believed he had a crush on me. The truth was far more heartbreaking. Every cup of coffee was a father's love with nowhere to go. Robert wiped his eyes. "I hope I never made you uncomfortable," he said. "Never," I replied. My voice cracked. Never. After that day, I understood him differently. The office gossip no longer bothered me. When people joked, I simply smiled. They did not know the truth. They saw an old man buying coffee for a young woman. I saw a father keeping his daughter's memory alive. A few weeks later, I did something I had never done before. I arrived at work early. Earlier than Robert. I placed a cup of coffee on his desk. When he arrived, he looked confused. Then he saw me smiling. For a moment, he could not speak. Finally, he laughed. "Well," he said, "I guess someone beat me to it." Today, 3 years have passed. I am still at the same company. Robert retired last spring. We still meet once a month for coffee. Sometimes he tells stories about Lily. Sometimes we talk about work. Sometimes we sit quietly and watch people pass by. People thought my coworker was in love with me. They were wrong. He was simply a father who lost his daughter too soon. And every morning, when he placed that cup of coffee on my desk, he reminded himself that kindness still mattered. My name is Emma. I still think about those mornings. And every time I buy coffee for someone who looks tired, I think about Robert, Lily, and the quiet ways love survives even after loss.
If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share. See you in the next video.